During the years that Pat and I were raising our 4 kids, surprise, surprise, there were times when one or more misbehaved. Or, you're surprised. Or disobeyed, or wandered too close to danger, or something else in life that was unhealthy for them. And so Pat and I would have to make up some new rules, some new laws, regulations to keep the family in line. Sometimes posting these on the refrigerator door with magnets, and sometimes rewarding obedience with gold stars, sometimes rewarding disobedience with unhappy consequences that only parents can dream of. There were times when we simply had to lay down the law about important things that affected our family and expect our children to trust our wisdom, to trust our love, to trust our authority, to do this for their benefit and for ours. You could call it the Cartwright Commandments, Cartwright family commandments. And though sometimes there were more or less than the magic number of 10. The prophet Jeremiah refers to the famous 10 commandments given by God to the ancient Hebrew people via through Moses the prophet. Jeremiah refers to this relationship that God was having with his people as, quote, the covenant which I made when I took these people by the hand and led them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant, meaning God's covenant, which they broke, unquote. Yes, as I recall, the Cartwright family commandments were broken now and then as well. The 10 Commandments of the Old Testament were a set of moral and ethical and religious regulations regulating the health and the prosperity of the people and the society that held together under God, and maintaining in good standing the people's relationship with the giver of these laws, who was God. That's what the Cartwright family rules were for too. But our kids weren't always happy when a new family rule was imposed and that restricted someone from doing what he or she wanted to do. All in all, our kids did pretty well over the years in our family rules, with our family rules, but there were plenty of exceptions along the way, where the temptation to break a rule was just a little more than one could bear or resist, and where being perfectly obedient all the time was more perfect than any real person can be, including the parents. We had to get through those times, sometimes with a tearful face, a pouting in the corner, a stomping off to the bedroom, an angry word, the looks of disappointment and resentment, and sometimes words of frustration like, Mom, Dad, you do not understand, you just don't understand. And probably we didn't always understand. Sometimes hard to follow rules, even when they're good and right rules, when, quote, one's heart isn't in it, unquote. When one's heart isn't in it. When your heart is focused on something else you'd rather be doing. Many consider the passage read this morning from the book of the prophet Jeremiah was to express a single important teaching of Jeremiah. It is considered to be one of the mountain peaks of the Old Testament, and it came to have great importance in the New Testament and continues to be central to our faith today. It was a new covenant being announced. The 10 Commandments, thou shalt not worship other gods than the one and only, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, and other laws that were derived from them gave the Hebrews and their descendants a moral standard that was an expression of God's will to them, and at the time too high and too perfect for anyone to achieve completely. And yet, when these moral laws were ignored, disobeyed, or otherwise flouted or disrespected, suffering was expected to be the result, and the deterioration of health or suffering was expected, deterioration of character or stamina, and even the nation's security, that the society would begin to crumble. If life with God was simply a set of rules and a set of rewards and punishments, where would we be? If the Cartwright family was simply based upon a set of rules and a set of rewards and punishments, where would we have been? The missing ingredient had to have something to do with love. The stunning insight announced by Jeremiah was that God is not merely a lawgiver, not simply a God of rewards and punishments, but also a God of love and grace, whose heart is merciful and gracious and forgiving, not at all unlike what we need in all of our relationships if they are to prosper and succeed and heal when they're broken. Well, the good news is that it just so happens that God, the maker of the universe and the creator of you and me, has established just such a covenant relationship with you and me. Jeremiah announced that God would do and was already beginning to do something new, and in addition to what his people had previously understood to be their relationship with God. Just as the Cartwright family rules didn't produce a family of perfect obedience, a threatening of rewards and punishment, Jeremiah was inspired and rightly recognized the error of thinking that anyone could ever, no matter how hard one tried, could ever achieve perfect obedience to the commandments of God. There needed to be something more in the family of God, and God was indeed revealing it to us, namely God's mercy, God's forgiveness, all forms of God's unfailing love. Instead, God was beginning to do something new in the relationship to people to keep the relationship of God and people together. God was not throwing out the commandments, but God was adding to them God's forgiving, gracious love. Rather than the 10 Commandments existing only on chiseled stone tablets and fastened to something like a refrigerator door to contribute to our feelings of pride when we succeed and feelings of guilt when we fail, Jeremiah writes that God is saying, I will put my law inside you, inside your hearts. I will write it upon your hearts. Well, how does God do that? How does God get through to your hearts, my heart? Well, in somewhat the same way that we tried to get through to the hearts of our children, even when they broke the rules, disobeyed the family commandments, and weren't sure just how much they had hurt or offended us and didn't know if we would still love them, we just kept loving them. And we kept finding ways to let them know that we would always keep forgiving them and would never be driven away by anything they did or they did not do. God's new covenant with us is what we celebrate at the communion table, at the Lord's Supper sometimes we call it, where Jesus says, this cup is the new covenant in my blood, shed for you to let you know you are loved, no matter what. Please come to this table. That's the invitation. We all know in our heart of hearts that we have fallen short, fulfilling God's ideal for us, God's commandments for us, God's expectations and hopes for us. But when we come to the table, we find God waiting for us. Just like the prodigal son in the parable Jesus once taught of the son who returned home after squandering his things and his possessions and his inheritance, thinking all he could do would be to go home and ask to be a hired servant. Instead, the father comes out, runs down the road and embraces him, saying, the lost has been found. That's all that matters. God's new covenant with us is what we celebrate now at the table. And so we invite all who who would like to be a disciple of His, who grants us this kind of grace to come to the table. It's the message at the table today. The broken bread, the cup of wine poured out for you and me, is Jesus celebrating in His own personal life God's free and gracious gift, and offer a fellowship with us and a call into being His servants in the world. Out of eternal gratitude for that gift of love to you and me, may we renew our dedication to having our lives together and everywhere we go become expressions of God's Word that is written by God's Spirit upon your heart and mine. The invitation of Jesus to be a disciple is an invitation to your heart, to open, to invite, to receive, to accept the Spirit of the living God into your heart.